This week, we've seen colossal creator team ups, fifth dimensional shenanigans, and the return to a world where maybe you better roll for initiative. Let's dive right into what's on the pull list. Kicking things off, we're going to start with Aquaman number 11, written by Jeremy Adams with artwork by Namit Malavia. So, Arthur and his Justice League Blue stop this group of parademons from creating this apocalypse engine in the middle of the ocean to make Earth uninhabitable. That's the premise of this, and that's kind of like why it's a tie-in to the DCKO event. But I gotta say, it feels very unconnected to DCKO, which is kind of okay. I'm not a huge fan of tie-ins, so this kind of fit the bill for me as a reader. This is a jumping on point kind of an issue here. There's no real stakes, there's no real progression. It's kind of a summation of the previous arcs, right? We're kind of getting caught back up with Arthur now back, being all powerful, having these godlike powers, having his grown daughter with him, and continuing his search for his wife, who he believes now is dead. While the narrative isn't incredibly exciting, the art from Malavia is. I really enjoyed their approach. It was a really pleasant surprise here because we've had other fill in artists here in the absence of John Timms. This is the first time where it kind of made me take notice, though. It was different than Timms' approach, but I really appreciated it, really enjoyed it. It was really kinetic. I really kind of enjoyed this. So, Aquaman number 11, it did the trick. Next up, we have The Author Immortal number 2, written by Frank Barberi with artwork by Morgan Beam. So Hector and Al are now within the story, this fantasy world they've been sucked into that they were kind of hired to rewrite or be the face behind the writing of these new series of stories. And it appears that they've been brought along some kind of dark magic along with them that's influencing their surroundings in this new fantasy world. Structurally, this is a much different issue than number one. We slow way down and we spend a lot of time with our main characters as they try to understand where they are and try to kind of get their footing underneath them. Not a ton of plot development here, but a little bit of character work, and I appreciate that. The painterly approach to the color work here is almost integral. I feel like this book would not be the same without the colors that Beam is laying down here. I love the look of the dark magic that I was speaking towards as it seems to be corrupting the story. There's a connection between the colors and the characters that inhabit this world now, Hector and his child there, Alethea. So it's kind of cool. It was a very slow issue. I want to see how this builds up, but I gotta say, in regards to the pacing of the story, even though it was slower, it didn't disappoint me. All right, let's talk Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring number 4, written and drawn by Patrick Horvath. So Monica had already been making questionable decisions here, but now she's starting to take questionable measures in her pursuit of her brother's murderer, while Sam, the true murderer, continues weaving this more intricate web. It is feeling more and more like Sam is becoming more and more like a Hannibal Lecter type of character. We knew that she had her motivations and her ticks, but now it feels like she's like just drawing other people into this little mix, and it's getting really devious and making her really villainous very quickly. When it comes to the writing of this, though, the thing that surprised me is that while I talk a lot about Monica and Sam, our two main players, the story is really about the town and everything that's going on with it. We get to spend a lot of time with a lot of different characters, particularly the previous owners of the hardware store or the workers at the hardware store, as one of them was killed in the previous series by one of the previous murderers. The book has me on the edge of my seat every single time I'm reading it, every single page turn. The tension is what is really magical about this because it's always ramped as high as it can possibly be. This issue is no different here. Beneath the Trees, let me know. Are you reading it? What are your thoughts? All right, let's talk Colossal Kaya number 1, written by Wes Craig with artwork by a whole plethora of people, including Mike Huddleston, Nathan Fox, James Herron, Jim Mafood. I'm missing a couple of them in there as well, but I gotta say, this was awesome. This issue catches you up on every single thing that has happened in the culmination of all of our previous 30 issues of Kaya. But now we get to take a little bit of a sidestep. It's kind of like these one-off issues where we get to spend time with Jin and Rozelle, and we get to see where their journey is going as they head north. We get to see Shelby shine a spotlight on Lord Vox as he is kind of, stuck, right? He has to make a decision on what direction he's going to go, if he's going to remain loyal to the robots or if he has his own machinations that are going to be put into play. And then we get to spend time with our nameship character Kaya and find out where they are. In the past, I've compared this book a lot to Bone, and I think that that comparison rings true, but I have to say, knowing what we have seen throughout the entirety of this series so far, it is feeling more and more like a Tolkien novel. This is feeling very Lord of the Rings in terms of its scope and the adventure that we have in place here. So, Colossal Kaya, it's the perfect jumping on point. If you're not reading this yet, this is going to be the place where you can read this one single issue and then join in on the adventure, because if you're not, you're missing out. Next up, we have Conan the Barbarian, number 26, written by Jim Zub with artwork by Fernando Dagnino. So, in this issue, we have like this trifecta of kingdoms that are vying for control, and the tipping point of that control all involves kind of drawing in a band of mercenaries here who happen to be led by Conan himself. After the epic that was issue number 25, we get to see maybe what is our first glimpses at Conan's ascent to ruling over this kingdom, right? We get to kind of see maybe where all of the breadcrumbs have been like leading to get him to this kingdom here as we get to see his first interactions. Dagnino paces the story out really, really well, and he visually depicts the viewpoints of all of these things, right? Because we spend a lot of time with the omniscient narrator, and I feel like Dagnino really understands and respects that idea as we get some really ethereal layouts that are taking place here. Not supernatural necessarily, but we're seeing it from the viewpoint of a person who isn't necessarily on the battlefield. Conan continues to be spectacular. This issue is really setting up something that I'm really excited for because I want to see King Conan's ascent. This is exactly what we're getting in this issue here. I want to see where they take it from here, though. All right, let's talk Die Loaded number 1, written by Kieran Gillen with artwork by Stephanie Hans. So, our original group has returned from the Die world again. But the world isn't done with those survivors, and a new band is called into action. Now, that band happens to be people that we had heard about within the first series, but now it's kind of like the inner circle of our main band of heroes from the first series. Now they're starting to get influenced by the world of Die as well. It's kind of nice to be back in this story and witnessing how each player has been impacted yet again. The nature of how this game has evolved has really kind of changed the scope of how everything plays out here, particularly about our dungeon master, if you will, and how their, I don't know, the ideas of what they have for the game is now impacting the real world in very much the same way that it impacted everyone in the previous story and even way back to their childhoods. It makes me wonder how long this book has kind of been in the works, because I have to say Stephanie Hahn's painterly artwork is stunning here. It's everything that you would anticipate it to be, and it makes me wonder, is she really that fast, or have they been working on this for just that long? Either way, I have to say it was incredibly impressive, just like this first issue was. Die is back, and I'm really excited for it. And with a new number 1, we have Liquidator number 1, written by Peter Milligan with artwork by Peter Kowalski. So, our main character, Aubrey Street, is a liquidator, an agent sent through time to deal with like these rogue time anomalies. But she's having memories from times that she has not even visited as of yet. This is really cool. It feels like the kind of Milligan story that I really enjoy. There was a book that came out just recently from Peter Milligan that I have to say did not feel quite right to me. It didn't fit the bill. This one, though, it really, really does. It's weird yet grounded at the same time. This issue does a lot of good jobs like laying down the foundation and kind of setting the rules for the world, which we're definitely going to need as we're jumping time through time. Kowalski spends most of this issue drawing like some, turn of the century 1800s London setting, and it's a really loose and real sketchy approach, and I think it works really, really well, especially when we're working with that setting and the characters that are being pulled in here. By the way, one of those characters might be Jack the Ripper. I'm excited to see where this goes. We kind of have a very loose premise, but it really could spiral into a lot of different directions, and that's kind of the exciting part here. So, Liquidators, it didn't light my world on fire, but it definitely kept me interested enough to want to come back for issue number 2. Next up, we have Marvel Knights: The World to Come number 4, written by Christopher Priest with artwork by Joe Quesada. All right, so listen, I'm gonna be honest. Just between me and you, right? Straight up, I don't know if I can explain what the heck even happened within this issue. This is a very confusing narrative, and the dialogue and the story structure are not helping the confusion whatsoever. What I can tell you is Ketama, our new leader, ruler of Wakanda, new Black Panther, is immediately acting sus here. He has taken out T'Challa, he has become the king, and he's already making decisions that are questionable for the ruling of Wakanda. On the flip side, we have an older T'Challa as we jump into the future now, who is recruiting the help of another superhero that he has had ties to in the past and also has had ties to Marvel Knights in itself. It's just weird. It is the way that Priest is structuring the story is like kind of like you're given a map and it says you on this map you can head north, south, east, or broccoli. And that doesn't make sense. And this map always tells you to go to broccoli. That's what you get with this story, and I can't quite make hide or hair of it. I still really enjoy Casada's artwork and his style, but I have to say his storytelling and the way that he's structuring pages feels very different here than it did in the past, and I feel like it's more in service of to the artwork than it is to the storytelling that is needed here because I need some kind of through line and I'm not getting it from the narrative. I would hope to get it from the art, but I'm kind of not getting it there either. So, World to Come, it's kind of losing me. Next up, we have Redcoat number 15, written by Jeff Johns with artwork by Brian Hitch. So it's hard to talk about what really happens in this issue without like totally giving away the plot and giving away some of the things that happen in here. And I don't want to give anything away. So I'll say this. Simon has been influenced by the centuries of adventure that he has been through. He's seen good, he's seen bad, he's been friends with a lot of historical figures now, and they've started to have influence on him, and that influence, more importantly, is starting to take hold. We get to spend a little bit of time with a different Simon in this. That influence is ringing through, it's showing, and we get to spend time with some characters that I'll be honest, I didn't anticipate seeing within the pages of this book. Hitch's artwork is hyper detailed. It is everything that you would anticipate, and it's kind of cool being able to see that he has been able to keep pace with this book as there has like nary been any delay whatsoever, but each issue still looks pristine and precise. And even like a scene that would be mundane under a different artist's penmanship totally isn't here. So make sure you check out this issue. It is an in-betweener. It's a setup for another story arc to kick off. But I have to say, within the last couple pages of this issue, it's going to make it totally worthwhile. All right, let's talk Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum, number 4, written by W. Maxwell Prince with artwork by Martin Morazzo. So Superman is testing out these kryptonites, and one of them happens to not so much be kryptonite, but as a kind of a distress beacon from the fifth dimension. So Superman has to go defend these magical imps from a lack of imagination itself. And let's be honest, I couldn't say that sentence out loud and take it seriously unless the writer was one of maybe 3 people. Maxwell is definitely one of those people, though. The storyline, it gets zany, it gets weird, it gets silver agey and cheeky in the best possible ways, and I love how Maxwell kind of approaches that and leans into that. On top of that, Morazzo was able to bring a lot of visual flair to this issue, being that it's a fifth dimensional, kind of issue where they're dealing with people like Mr. Mixelplixik, and it's kind of cool. He kind of like leans on this photography flair as he's incorporating almost not so much a collage aspect, but different kind of visual identifiers, I guess, page by page that are really cool to see. As this issue, while the series has been crazy, this is absolutely the craziest of the bunch. It's well crafted. If you're a fan of Ice Cream Man, if you're a fan of this team, you definitely need to be checking out Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum here. This issue was maybe not my favorite of the series, but definitely the craziest. Next up, we have Ultimate Black Panther number 22, written by Brian Hill with artwork by Carlos Nito. So, Storm gives birth to T'Challa's son. And that idea right there is just crazy enough because, like, how did we get to this point? Like, sure, we know how we got to that point, but like, not enough time has passed to be able to get to this place where we're at. And we know that the Vodou Khan have had some kind of influence over these characters. And the way that the prophecy is laying out is that the son of T'Challa and Storm could be the catalyst for opening up this gate to allow the progenitors to actually kind of come back into the ultimate universe and maybe take control of Earth. This issue really just drops you right into the mix and does not do anything to help you catch up or kind of back up what is happening here. You just got to strap in and kind of like go along with what's being told here, because that's the only way to survive this issue. It still feels like this book has so much to explore, and yet we only have like two more issues yet to wrap everything up. I'm hoping that we're not left with a lot of dangling plot threads on here. I don't know if we will or not. It makes me fearful. What I can say is that they're still kind of playing with new ideas each and every issue that we get, though, and that's continuing to make me excited about this. But I have to say, with the short time period that we have between this and the end, we do have some heavy lifting to do. So, Brian Hill, I hope you're up for the task. This issue was really exciting, though. All right, let's talk Ultimate Wolverine number 11, written by Chris Condon with artwork by Alessandro Capuccio. So, Mikhail Rasputin, one of the leaders of the resistance here, kind of unintentionally or maybe intentionally exposes the opposition, and Colossus kind of takes advantage of that misstep, as now everyone knows where the resistance is residing and kind of knows where they can kind of aim their attacks. This issue felt like a kamikaze mission because it is action packed and it is kind of like a ticking clock, basically, that is slowly but surely getting right down to zero. I dig what Capuccio is doing here from the artistic side, and I feel like it is just like an aerial attack. It feels dynamic, it feels fast, it feels bold, and it's kind of like the perfect artistic approach that you need for this kind of issue, because as this series has gone on, it's really just become, when it's effective, an action kind of book. And it should be. That's Wolverine, right? But when Capuccio is on the book and we get that fast paced kineticism, that's when this book shines here. So Ultimate Wolverine was really fun. We're not going to get to spend a lot of time with this character, so we're going to cherish what we get here. This issue was really good. Next up, we have We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, number 6, written by Matthew Rosenberg, with artwork by Stefano Landini. So we finally gotten to the last issue of this series here, and Annalise takes on Rook and Val as she tries to save the sentient robot that, keeps referring to her as Starfish. Looking back at this series and its ending here, there's kind of one word that keeps ringing through my head, and that word is Spielbergian. It's like this perfectly paced Spielberg movie, right? We have all the heart, the charm, the wits, the humor, the action, and the terror. It's like putting together the storyline puzzle where each piece, Rosenberg is just fitting it in perfectly to kind of match the emotion that he's trying to convey on each and every page to keep everything as high paced as possible. Like everything, it just works in conjunction with itself so perfectly. And the art, yeah, it matches that beat for beat. We get great visual pacing with kinetic action. It's exactly what you need from this kind of story. This series really took me by surprise. I expected to enjoy it because it's Matthew Rosenberg and Stefano Landini. I'm not sure I anticipated needing this book. And I gotta say, we've gotten to quote unquote what is the end of this series, even though there's kind of clues that we could continue this on in the future. I have to say, this was a book I needed, and that's a really cool feeling to have. I love being pleasantly surprised. This series and this issue totally did that for me. And with my runner up book of the week, let's talk Batman Dark Patterns number 12, written by Dan Waters with artwork by Hayden Sherman. So, journalist Nikki Harris kind of holds Dr. Seireka hostage in this burning building as Batman sees an inferno on the brink of overtaking Gotham, because Nikki Harris has basically set off these bombs and these fires to kind of mimic the historical fires that have come close to burning Gotham to the ground. This issue was a little bit difficult, I'm not going to lie. It took me a couple reads and maybe a little bit of conversation about the nature of the story as well, but after kind of experiencing it a couple times and really sitting with it, it hits hard. Where this issue felt like it was a little bit anticlimactic in the first read, the second read, I saw it for what it was. It was an evolution of Batman, and that's exactly what the series has been about from start to finish. We've spent so much time in modern day with this perfect version of Batman, and this This is a time that we look back into the past where Batman and Bruce were still trying to figure out what it means to be the protector of Gotham and what approach he needs to take. And this is kind of getting to the end point of that, where he gets to then ascend to a different version of Batman. And Sherman, let's be honest, Sherman is doing absolutely fantastic work here. The flames are ethereal that he's rendering. There's like a supernatural aspect to what is being shown here, and it really elevates the look of the book. Also, what's elevating the look is Triona Farrell's incredible colors, because in the midst of all these fiery rescues, it is just like, it's amazing looking, right? And even when we have the quieter moments of reflection, it just all works together in conjunction so well. This was a team working together to create an absolutely fantastic book. This is the ending. This is going to make for a great collected edition. So if you're reading this along with me, make sure you keep an eye open for it. If you're not, keep your eye open for that collected edition and really, really take notice of it, because Batman Dark Patterns has been fantastic. And with my top comic of the week, let's talk The Power Fantasy number 13, written by Kieran Gillen with artwork by Casper Wingard. So this week we got the Kieran Gillen double dip here, and this issue, it was all about the family gathering of sorts, right? And it's the Atomics getting together to kind of air out their grievances. We have an Atomics, Festivus basically. Gillen is challenging every player on the board in every way possible. Now all secrets are exposed. When they got together last time, there were machinations that were happening in the background. This is not that. This is everyone knowing every single thing about every single circumstance that's taken place and having to deal with what those ramifications are. It was really cool seeing the reaction to everything that's taken place and all the secrets being laid about. Casper incorporates some visual cues in this that really, really, really work well, not only through this issue, but through the series as well. There's callbacks, there's cues, there's a lot of things here. There's so many idiosyncrasies in this issue that make it absolutely worthwhile just from a visual aspect here. You already know The Power Fantasy is one of my favorite books here, but I gotta say, the way that Kieran is writing for the single issue is really, really stunning here. This is issue number 13. They've talked about the potential of 16 possibly being the last issue here. I don't know what's driving that, whether it's sales, whether it's reception. I gotta say though, if there's anything you can do, if you want this series to continue going on, is buy these issues, because I gotta say, they are going to excite you, they're going to entertain you, and it was absolutely worthwhile of Top Comic of the Week. So that's what I've got for you this week, but I'm more curious. What did you read, and what were your thoughts? Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe, and be part of the panel. Leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week.